I have an announcement to make this evening. We're not going to have a late one because I have something to tell you, and you'll kind of understand, I'm sure. Let's get to some Les Vogel. Nice and quiet here on the south coast. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I am going to, well, I don't know what I'm going to talk about tonight, to be fair. It's just going to be a little stream of consciousness until I can do no more. I don't really know how to start the live tonight, but normally, what day is it? Wednesday. Normally, I wait until people get their feet under the table, but I just don't have so, you know, a few weeks ago, I said to you, and again, I was vague, and I was kind of giving you hints and tips, but not the full. So I said to you that my hero so he passed away 3 hours ago, and so I didn't know, it was too late to kind of say to you, I need to cancel tonight's live, and it just wouldn't have been very fair. So I just thought that I would start the live and tell you some stories, because these stories are not available anywhere. And I'll give you a bit of insight into maybe some British history. I mean, and also I decided to do this live because there is a lot of stuff going on. And I know that you love coming to these lives just to kind of get my take on things, my spin on things, my experience in the 40 years in the media of things. And I know that you get this completely, but you know how grief comes in waves. It's not just like a bang, it's in your face, and then it just stays there fizzing around. It just, it comes in waves and it goes away. And for all I'm an old boy, and you know, I know very little fear, I just know that I need to allow it, and don't suppress it, just allow it. But oh, this is big, man. This is just fucking huge. And this is bigger than both my parents. This is, my father was an utter cunt. Utter cunt. He would rather spend money in the pub getting shit-faced than put food on the table for his kids. So there were times where there wasn't enough money for food, and there wasn't even enough money for shoes on my feet. We were that impoverished. Now, you may think, no, that didn't happen, Adrian. Oh, yes, it fucking did. I'm living proof. And so I want to kind of explain to you, I'll get to the comments in a moment. I know that you've been very supportive. I know that the channel's been highly erratic since my hero was diagnosed, and I'm not going to name him here because you'll find out why in a moment. But it's been highly erratic, and I thank you for being just there and supportive, and just dropping in every now and again, checking out the lives, checking out the videos. Like today, I wanted to do some standalone videos, not the live, and I just didn't have it. Just didn't have it. And as I say, it's that sick feeling in the pit of your stomach that you can't get rid of. And, you know, it's the great British stiff upper lip. We don't do this. We don't. We just don't. And I'm just thankful that I had an opportunity. I didn't bring it here. I had an opportunity to say goodbye to him a few weeks ago. There's no funeral, no wake. He's decided to donate his body to medical science, and I wish him Godspeed. But as I say, 3 hours ago, got the phone call. Family's in bits. Because he was a proper hero, proper swashbuckling romantic hero, because he did stuff that was extraordinary. So I just want to take a moment to give you an insight, because I say to you, politicians lie all the time. How can you tell when a politician's lying? Because I know. And how do I know? Well, I'll tell you. So me and my hero, I'm born and bred Sunderland. So you can't choose your football team. It's where you're from. And I was born within the sound of the Roker Roar. I was born where, and I can still see it in my head as a very, very young child, I could hear the roar, the sound of Roker Park, and I could see the lights on when there was a match being played, a midweek match. And my footballing hero and his footballing hero was Charlie Hurley. Now, you may not have known or have heard of that name, but Charlie Hurley, simply the best centre-back football's ever produced. And I was lucky enough, back in the day, 20-odd years ago, to meet him and have him sign my book. So I told my hero about that, and he was just, he loved it. So we were, or are, Sunderland born and bred, and you don't choose your footy team, it's where you're from. So that's my football team. That's my greatest ever footballer. And Brian Clough comes a very close second, because Brian Clough pulled on the Sunderland shirt, and I met Cloughie later in my life, and I'll tell you that story another time. But there's 3 books that I have in my archive, and I've got quite an extensive archive. If you want to know, and I'm not really going to tell you, Peter Sadler, my team chose me. I walked into Craven Cottage and it felt like home. Wonderful, Peter, wonderful. It just is. You know, it kind of is. I mean, I could never be a Newcastle United supporter. That's not denigrating Newcastle United supporter, obviously, FTM. But, and anybody that supports Newcastle United would never choose Sunderland. But I remember I have many stories. And I don't know whether you're old enough to remember. I mean, I have no idea why I'm telling you this. None whatsoever. It's not connected. It's unconnected. It's not. But are you old enough to remember the Troubles in Northern Ireland? And are you old enough to remember when the IRA started squealing, saying, "Whoa, they've got the SAS on the streets of Northern Ireland"? And the British government went, "No, we haven't." "Yes, you have. You've got the SAS on the streets of Northern Ireland." And the government went, "No, we haven't." "Yes, you have." No, they didn't. But yes, they did. So I keep telling you that the rich and powerful have to have deniability. And the British government need to have deniability. So what did they do? Sneaky faggots. What did they do? Sorry. So the British government wanted to put the SAS, the operators, the Army's top secret elite, if you want to go and see it. It's called 14 Company on the front of that. But actually, you want to Google 14 Int. Those that know. And you ever seen a blackbird sing in Berkeley Square? You know now, don't you? So the British government needed deniability. So what did they do? They put the SAS on the streets of Northern Ireland. Well, no, they didn't, Adrian. They put 14 Company on the streets of Northern Ireland. Now, 14 Company did all the training, all the SAS training. They just weren't badged SAS. So they were kind of on the streets of Northern Ireland. And I've no idea why I'm telling you this, but look at this book. The operators on the streets with 14 Company, the Army's top secret elite. I've no idea why I'm telling you this. Fuck off, behave. And there's another book. No, not The Debt, Des. There was Whiz, Through, Debt. No, this was 14 Company. And also, there's a book called The Nemesis File. Don't know whether you can see that. Len Shackleton, there was a player, Alan. I've seen it and got the Clanad song. Oh, I say, Gareth. Dan Brugger, you can say that, but I can't possibly comment. So, the Nemesis File is all about the death squad that the British government put into Northern Ireland and, just denied it. But it's in the book. Used to go around shooting terrorists dead. But there's another book. Death of a Hero. It's all about another Sunderland boy. Captain Robert Bob Nyrak and the undercover war in Northern Ireland. Nyrak was 14 int. So I don't know whether you're aware of the story, but the British government keep asking the IRA for Bob Nyrak's body. And the IRA go, I haven't got it. Because Bob Nyrak... So the book has some technical inaccuracies. Fill you in, yeah. It started at 7 o'clock outside of number 10. No doubt that's all been set up by the government. We'll get to that after I've told you this little story. Gareth, Cardiff fan. Cardiff? I know you need mental help. Look, I've been to matches at, what was the old ground called? And I loved it because in the northeast, and my hero loved everything football, had an encyclopedic mind about footy. And I went to the old Cardininium Park. Wonderful. Thank you, Gareth. The wooden seats. My backside was aching by the time I left. And that was from the seats. You're wrong. But let me tell you about Captain Bob Nyrak. A hero. A Macam, deployed in Northern Ireland as an undercover. He was never badged SAS, but in all intents and purposes was SAS. And him and others went into the borders and went into a pub and wanted to sing some songs. It's in the book. And the word went out from the pub to some very, very bad men that there were British Army officers in the pub. And these bad men, en masse, came to the pub. And there was a fight to the death. And Bob Nyrak, sadly, lost his life. I won't go into too much detail, but because I know more detail that's in the book than that is in the book. Sorry, I'll say that again. So I know more information that is actually in the book. And Bob Nyrak, in the fight to the death, succumbed and he was taken away. Shot and then fed to the pigs. So when the British government asked the IRA or the politicians representing them or anybody else in power in Northern Ireland, give us Bob Nyrak's body back, they go, can't. Haven't got it. Because the pigs ate it. So what the IRA used to do was they used to starve pigs. And you know pigs will eat anything. Except teeth. So Bob Nyrak succumbed but there were others that got away. And it wasn't this Hollywood kind of slap you, slap me, slap you, slap me fighting. It was a fight to the death. And there's actually a BBC documentary that is on their iPlayer, where the men involved, the Irish men involved, they escaped to America to get away from it. And some of them talked about their regrets about that night. And these men were brought in because it doesn't work the way it is on telly. It doesn't work the way in Hollywood films. They don't have John Wayne ride into town or Clint Eastwood ride into town and then take care of business like a sharpshooter. No, don't be stupid. What happens, and this happens today in life, if anything needs taken care of, there are people who specialise. And if you want it taken care of, you go to the specialists. And that happened in the Dirty War in Ireland. They sent out the word and got people to come down and deal with stuff. And some of those men it's a heartfelt documentary by the BBC. And the BBC's always done very specialist documentaries about Northern Ireland and the Troubles. And this was... And from what I know, some of which I can't bring here. I can't, because there'll be people knocking on my front door from the government. I don't know whether this is covered by a D notice, but I will talk about what is in these books, so it's in the public domain. So I'm very well aware. And can you remember was it 89, where there was a couple of guys, they were caught in an IRA funeral. They just popped out of this road, and there was, I know that for training purposes, the helicopter videoed it all. Yeah, Dan Brooker, there was two. There were 14 int, 14 intelligence, and one of them was coming back to the mainland. He'd been transferred, so he's giving the other guy a bit of a tour around the area, and they popped up in the middle of this funeral, and that's why it all kicked off, because the Irish knew who they were. They weren't that stupid. Yeah, Corporal Woods. They were 14 int. One was being sent back to Blighty, and the other one, yeah, the soldiers took a wrong turn, and the other one was meant to be there on deployment in 14 int. Didn't know the area, so one of them was a well, I won't be disingenuous because they both lost their lives. But it was a dirty war, Northern Ireland. And I know. But let me tell you this. So I only need one thing to tell you where I know that the politicians were lying. It was the IRA said to the British government, you've got the SAS on the streets of Northern Ireland. And the government says, no, we haven't. And technically, they had that deniability. But the SAS on the streets of Northern Ireland was 14 int. And they weren't badged SAS. They weren't badged the regiment at all. And if there's anybody ex-regiment, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They did the killing room, and they did all the bits and pieces. All of it. Fan dance, killing room, all of it. And that's why, part of the reason why he was my hero. So today he succumbed to, it's an awful disease. And I know there are many that will watch this who have family that have succumbed to cancer. It's an awful, awful, awful disease. It robs life in the most obscene and brutal way. I mean, I'm thankful that I didn't see him in his last days because I had to make a decision. My family was saying to me, are you going to come up and see him? And I just said, no, what's up here needs to stay up here. And I'm thankful that recently I had a day with him, and I was able to have some time on my own with him. And there's a little story that I'm going to tell you, because he was such a magnificent man. I was but a child, and he was 10 years older than me, and it's still no age. But there was my father never took me swimming, never ever. I mean, I didn't really do kind of boy stuff with my dad. He wasn't in my life until I was 11. He was a merchant seaman, so, and I know retro, if he's in the house tonight, will understand this, that he was away at sea a lot, so he wasn't really around. So my hero used to kind of talk footy, we'll do this and we'll play cards, and he cheated at cards and I never won and it was funny. But when I was very young, maybe 4 or 5 year old, he took me to the local swimming baths on Newcastle Road in Sunderland. And if there's any Mackhams in the body of the Kirk this evening, you know which one I'm talking about. It's I think it's a garage now. And I was so scared of the water. It was absolutely high street baths, Newcastle Road. Thank you, Alan. I was so scared of the water, and it was heaving with people, that I couldn't. And he was really gentle with me. Now, he must have been, at that point, I don't know, 15, 16. And he did something really clever. So can you remember the old baths where you would go into the like little foot pool to make sure that if you got any verrucas or anything going on in your feet, it stayed in there. It was full of detergent or something. We'd already walked through that, and on the way back, he was sharp enough. He just dipped my swimming shorts in some water and said, "Don't tell anyone. We just had a great time." Because he could see my fear. I was only 4-year-old, but he could see my fear and didn't want to go back and go, "Oh no, he didn't," because he couldn't. And we just wrapped my swim shorts up in a towel and went home. Had a wonderful time. Nobody knew, only me and him. But from that, it was kind of it allowed me on a path. So when I wanted to become somebody on the radio, I became somebody on the radio. Whatever I put my mind to, I achieved, because I always went back in my head to that time when I couldn't swim. I could swim. I could hang onto the side of the baths. But then I became the best swimmer in the school, in the junior school, and doing this and that and the other. It was that thing, and I'm sure you've had something in your life that just propels you. So I have no idea what I'm telling you about Northern Ireland. You can say that, but I can't possibly comment. But from being from a young guy Sunderland is always referred to as Beirut. Sunderland was a tough place to grow up. I mean, it all was in the 60s, I'm sure. But my mum's family were always very tasty. And some people in Hendon might know the family. I'm not going to go into detail, but they were very tasty. My granddad would go on the cobbles, take all comers, big or small, all comers, to make a few bob just to feed the family. He was brutal, had hands of stone. But anyway, and the reason why I'm telling you these little stories is just to help me process things. I'm just allowing it and just processing things, because it's still very raw and very new, and I just didn't want to let you down by not appearing and then saying, "Oh, give me a few weeks away." That doesn't help. But I will tell you that my hero succumbed to many cancers. I mean, I've said to you many times, we don't judge on this channel at all, because we were all trying to do the right thing, and we all did our own thing to do the right thing. And I will never, ever judge you for deciding to take the jibber jabber. But to my dying day, I will attest that he had turbo cancers. Because not only did he have bone cancer, blood cancer, lung cancer, liver cancer, prostate cancer, it was everywhere through him. So now he's gone to wherever we go to. Do I believe that there's something after this? Oh, yes. I'm not a man that subscribes to these kiddie fiddlers in Rome or anywhere else. Any kind of denomination, any kind of religion. I don't subscribe to it, because just explain to me the randomness of being a human being on this kind of spinning orb in the middle of nothing. No. Yeah, I kind of, somebody's just put up that you could have put a message up and said that it's something's happened, family. Yeah, I get that, but it just, Alan says, hang on, I need these on. Oh dear. Alan says, my big older brother got beaten up in Thorny Close. I was about 5 and he was 18. Cried my eyes out when he got home and I saw the mess he was in. Fractured skull, broken nose. As you know, Alan, Sunderland was a tough place to be brought up. Philippa Fraser says, I've just lost a friend to the big C. You could see all the lumps and bumps all the time. She passed away last week, aged 22. I'm so sorry to hear that, Philippa. It's an awful, 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 pernicious disease. And again, this is my view, my personal view. We have cancer charities who take in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds a year, and we are still no further forward. So it scares me. It scares me that, look, cancer is it's just a money-making exercise. So I'm not going to go too deep into that, because it would sound very it would sound very disingenuous. Miss Know-it-all says all charities is a scam. I know. Polar Sky says, I'm very sorry for your loss. My husband has bladder cancer. Polar Sky, I hope in some way he can pull through. There are some natural remedies for cancer that I did some research on, and soursop leaves tends to be the daddy of any cancer turnaround. There are herbs and stuff, but soursop, you'll know that you can't buy soursop anywhere, can you? No. And can you get soursop leaves for tea? No. I wonder why that is. Because you would think that if, humankind is afflicted by something and there was a natural remedy, then the natural remedy would be naturally available. No. Thank you, Peter. Andrew James says, remember the ads? They were on road, but now it's 1 and 2 people. Wow, really? I read today in the Times, I'm not going to try and find the article for you. I read in the Times today that, Pfizer, so they're not making castor oil. Yeah, Corinne Jane, I understand that's also very good. And sorry, you're going to have to forgive me tonight, because sometimes my brain is, you'll know when you get quite traumatic bad news. There's the sick feeling in the pit of the stomach, and my head is just mush. Oh yeah, Dr. Berg, Guy Tenenbaum helped his aggressive cancers through fasting video by Dr. Berg. Yeah, I've seen that, and I've also seen, what's the doctor, the 10x scientist. He also says fasting. Thank you, Aidan. Appreciate it. The 10x guy. And he says it's because we're consuming, because that's what we're conditioned to be. But actually fasting, and I've done some intermittent fasting, but I watched Dana White from MMA, the UFC, and he turned his life around. So this, not Dan Brooker, is it Gary Brooker? I know we've got Dan Brooker in the body of the Kirk tonight, but I think it's Gary Brooker, the 10X guy. And he says if you can fast up to 72 hours, it does all kinds of wonderful things in the body. But you've got to get to it if you get diagnosed. You've got to get to it early. And I am thinking about doing some 36, 48, 72-hour fasts just to see how my body reacts. Because, you know, I was diagnosed type 2 diabetes, and my blood sugars were so far off the chart. They were like, whoa, sit down, and right, we're going to give you metformin. And you're going to have to take this because we're scared you're going to walk out of the surgery and have a heart attack or a stroke. And I said to the doctor, at my age, if I get a stroke, it'll be a bonus. He didn't find it funny either. So I turned my type 2 around by diet. I mean, it was brutal, and it was 800 calories, which is why there are certain celebrity doctors I have no time for, because there is a magic man, Professor Roy Taylor, at the Newcastle Resonance place, Newcastle University, who's been spouting on about this for over 20 years, best part of a quarter of a century. And he's been telling everybody. And then somebody else just jumped on and nicked his idea and his thoughts and his research. And all that Professor Roy Taylor wanted to do was just get his work out there, or rather get this work out there, because it would benefit so many people. So there are natural remedies for the big C, but they don't want you to take them because they want to make money out of you. You're a cash cow. Lewis Schaffer does fasting. I think quite a few people do. The intermittent fasting I normally do is 16-8, because I can just have my dinner at a really good time and then get up the next morning and go, no breakfast. I'll just wait till I get to lunchtime, about 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And it works. It does work. Just skipping breakfast, that's all. It's not highfalutin. People give it a name. Oh, intermittent fasting. No, skip breakfast. That's all it is. You can go without food for 16 hours just by eating before, say, 8 o'clock in the evening. And then, Jane, I'm so sorry to hear that. My 39-year marriage broke up. I'm so sorry to hear that. We're all dealing with stuff. And Karina Jane, wow, you do 24. Bloody hell, Karina. That is hardcore if you're doing 24. So it's what you'll be doing, sort of eating dinner. I mean, when I said to you at the beginning of this live, when I was little, there wasn't always food on the table. So literally, today they'd call it intermittent fasting. Vitamin B16, not in home bargains. Yeah, I get it, John. I do get it. The stuff that will help you is not available. Wonder why that is. Fuckers. So that's what I was going to tell you. So Pfizer, I wasn't going to talk about the jibber jabber, but remember Pfizer bought this Canadian company that did research and did stuff and had successful trials for turbo cancer. And this company, and obviously since my hero was diagnosed, I've been doing all this research in the background. And so what they did was, this company that was worth about $6 billion, they bought it for $42 billion. And today in the Times, Pfizer have admitted that there's not much call for jibber jabbers nowadays. But they're making shit tons of money from this Canadian company that they bought that deals with turbo cancers. And I just thought, whoa, hang on a second. Sorry. I am getting more antibiotics for this. So they're making shit ton of money from this turbo cancer company, because basically all, how can I say this without getting in serious trouble? So some people would suggest that the jibber jabber could be causing turbo cancers, excess deaths and turbo cancers and stuff. And yet, fan my brow, Pfizer have got the very company that specialises in turbo cancers. So you give them the cancers, you give them the cure. Double bubble. Oh, is that Amalia? Oregano tea. Oregano oil. Oregano. Sorry, Amalia. So my hero, we used to have very deep conversations, because we just did. And he never wanted to talk about some of the stuff he experienced, because, as he said to me, everybody else just hears the stories, but I have to live with the awful dreams. And any squaddy or anyone that served in any of the armed forces that, has had to deal with stuff, you'll know. Because sometimes you're dealing with stuff internally. So I'll give you a couple of stories, and then I'm going to go on to very important stuff that's happened over the weekend. Southport, Manchester Airport, Taylor Swift, those little Swifties. It absolutely broke my heart. Society's in meltdown, the Olympics, and we'll talk about Huw, the pedo, Edwards. Now, if you go back to some of my videos on Huw, have a look at them again. I was telling you all the way through. I was telling you, but I couldn't tell you unless you had. I told you. I told you what it was. I told you who was managing his reputation. But we'll get to that in a minute. I just want to give you these 3 stories. So so you can imagine, I'm in my early 20s. I'm a bit of a daft lad. I'm as mad as a box of frogs. All I wanted to do was get onto radio, commercial radio, and I was doing the afternoon show. I was 22. I mean, no age. 22, and I was on the radio, being a local celebrity. Obviously, bollocks. And we laughed about this, because this is nearly 40 years ago. And hang on, what did Neil say? I've got a black belt in oregano. No, not that. Yeah, I agree about with Amalia, definitely. So I was on the radio, age 22, a bit of a daft lad. Got the breaks, got in, commercial radio, Teesside, and I never knew he was listening. And I just got this phone call whilst I was on air, because I always gave my mum and dad we have an ex-directory number that goes straight into the studio. When it rings, it's normally the boss going, "Here, shite mate, improve." And the XD went, and he was like, "Watcha?" I was like, "Jesus, where are you?" He said, "I'm listening." He said, "Play me a song." And I was like, "Oh, what's he gonna like? What's he gonna?" I mean, he was into Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Fanfare of the Common Man. That's how left field he was. And so I played him the Pet Shop Boys. What the bloody hell was I thinking? The Pet Shop Boys. I was thinking, well, what's the best of what we got? Well, it'll have to be the Pet Shop Boys then. And he mentioned that ad nauseum for loads. And he also told me a story that in the H blocks in Northern Ireland. Now, I'm going to sanitize this story, because if you've got a sensitive stomach, if you're having your dinner, either pause this, go and have your dinner and come back. Or if you're easily shocked, then don't listen to this. Honestly, don't. Either switch this off and don't do this bit. But so he was telling me that the dog handlers in the H blocks used to wank the dogs off. And because it was a dirty war, because I'm not talking the Bobby Sands dirty protest. I'm talking about if you slipped up and made a mistake, you were dead. And I said to him, "Why would you do that?" He said, "Because it kicked off, and the dog's got a choice of you or the terrorists. The terrorist gets you because the dog knows what you're going to do for it the next day." And it's that thinking that separates really special operatives from everybody else. It's just a matter of, need to do this because this will keep me alive. And anybody that was in Northern Ireland that knows what I'm talking about will know that I'm talking the truth. Dan Brooker says, I've muted it, but I can still read your lips. Sorry, Dan, I'm just teasing you. And to kind of show you how close me and my hero were, he gave me a call and said, I'm going somewhere cold. So I was like, Jesus, what? Is he going to Norway or somewhere? Greenland, Iceland? Go? No, in intelligence, it's cold means it's not active. Thank you, Nicholas. I really appreciate that. Nicholas has just said, I've listened to you for the past year, big man. However, this platform is different. Daft as it sounds, the Kirk is more friendship and friends looking out for each other. Yeah, absolutely. It's community. I think that's the best word, Nicholas, if you don't mind. And so I was doing a sponsored walk in the hills of North Yorkshire. And as I got there early one Sunday morning, he'd gone and had been gone quite a few years, but he'd disappeared off somewhere. I can't say why. The British government know what they wanted him to do, and the British government just had him go and do some stuff elsewhere. That's as much as I can tell you, genuinely. Tocker 69, congregation is better. Yeah, agreed. Hi, Rose Anderson. Just in case I've never popped your cherry. Amalia's really funny. I look forward to it all the time, even though I forget. Brilliant, Amalia. You always make us laugh. And so I'm in North Yorkshire doing this sponsored walk, 10-mile sponsored walk. And I just thought, he's been gone. So he disappeared off 97. And this must have been 2004, 2005. I'm walking around North Yorkshire thinking, why do I think he's around, my hero? Obviously, I'm not going to give any names. Why would I think he's around? And literally 3 days later, I get an email from him saying, watcha. I was like, mate, how did I know he was around? Isn't that really a bit weird? So thank you for listening tonight. It's helped, and we'll get into the really deep stuff now. I do appreciate all of your kind words in the comments. I will look at them after I've finished. But we'll do about an hour tonight, if you don't mind. And we'll see where it goes from here, because for the last 18 months, just call me Psychic Adrian, but oh, hang on, Lynn Turner, hang on. Good morning, Adrian and congregation. I hope everyone is as well as can be expected in this crazy, crazy world at present. Anybody want to tell her? And I just really appreciate your kind words, and I appreciate your support. So what I'm going to attempt to do is, I don't know when this sick feeling is going to go, and you know, clearing the fog and just dealing with, because I believe that grief is a very powerful emotion, and unless it's dealt with, in my view, might not be yours. Yeah, Gypsy Adrian, brilliant. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So 18 months ago, well, hang on, let me just write that down so I'm not going to forget it. So 18 months ago, look, you know, my family home, there was 5 of us, and we were all card-carrying members of the Labour Party. My dad was a Labour councillor, so I know how those scum operate. So 18 months ago, I was looking at Keir Starmer. Is he scaring you yet? And I just thought, he's evil. He is evil. In my view, just a personal opinion, brought on by 60 odd goes round this planet and understanding human beings a little bit. But I can look at him. And I watched the run-up, the 18-month run-up to the general election. They were lying at the backs of their neck, anything to get elected. And now he's got a fight in the party between him and the attack dog, Angela Rayner. Can I call her Ginger Growler? If she's an attack dog. I'm talking politically, of course. So, Gene Psychic says, Keir is evil and a puppet. Oh, yeah, he's a weft puppet, man. He said to Emily Maitlis, friend of Huw Edwards. And remember her and John Sopel backing Huw Edwards. It's not wearing well, is it, Emily? Anyway, she does this interview with Sir Keir Starmer. And she said to him, Westminster or Westminster? Oh, love Davos. Me too. Me too. Been there a fair few times. Love it, love it, love it. But not in the same way that Sir Keir Starmer loves it. He just wants the power. Just wants the power. Doesn't care about anything else whatsoever. Just wants the power. So, this is all, and I do have a take, and I think what I'll do is we'll just bounce around the top of this whole situation that's going on, the society in meltdown. And I'll do a deeper dive when I can, because this is not going away. They've only been in power 4 weeks. We've got another 5 years of this. Funny, Mateless and Sopel no longer at the BBC. I wonder what they know. Hang on. Holly Ruston says, does Keyhole Stomer wank the attack dog Rainer off to keep it on side? Oh, do you know, Holly, you picked that one up. I've no idea, to be fair. But if she is Labour's attack dog, we can definitely call her Ginger Growler. Piers Morgan seemed to be friendly with Huw Edwards over the years. Andrew James. Yeah, I agree. They're all backing off now, though. Pictures of 7-year-olds. What the actual? 6 category A. The worst kind of abusive photographs of children. And it's not connected to what was going on last year. And his wife's now left him. Oh, fan my brow. I bet she did. And he's walking around in sunglasses like a gangster today. Mate, his arsehole's going to be grapefruit red after a couple of weeks inside. He'd be looking forward to that. Be like a holiday camp for him. Come along, boys. Bet they can't wait. His sentencing will take place in September. I wonder if he'll make it till then. Yes. Well, I don't think he's got the backbone to kill himself. I hope he doesn't. I hope he goes to jail. But I will tell you that a guy that I used to work with, no, I won't name him, but a guy I used to work with was found with some naughty and nasty pictures on his computer, kids. And he went to court and he said to the judge, no, I'm just doing some research. Just a documentary I'm making. So it's just research for a documentary I'm making. Judge didn't believe him. So said, like one Friday, right, go home, get your affairs in order. And then next Friday, we'll sentence you. Killed himself the day before he was due in court for sentencing. Tom. I'm not going to say any more. So, Huw Edwards, all these ex-BBC is going, oh, didn't know. I bet you bloody didn't. Jimmy Savile raped an 8-year-old girl. An 8-year-old girl on BBC premises. And in the investigation into Jimmy Savile's activity on BBC premises, what was the output of the inquiry? Tony Blackburn kissed a 16-year-old once in the 60s. Nothing to do with the rape of the 8-year-old on BBC property. Oh, the BBC, it's absolutely chocked full of the shite. It's full of pedos. Absolutely chock-a-block. They're all deviants and perverts in the BBC. Not all. A fair few, though. So now Hugh's come out. Look, people in the BBC knew, because you just get an energetic feel for real evil. You do. I've said to you, I've been in Savile's company, or did, and I probably either wasn't too pretty, or was too old, or too male, too masculine for him. But I've said to you, I stood in a radio studio with Savile, and I thought, ooh, not comfortable in here. Why is that? Didn't talk to me, didn't kind of looked at me really weird. And as I said, an ex-Radio 1 DJ, as I was bending over a desk when I was the boss of a radio station, grabbed my sphericals and I said to him, you do that again, I'm going to rip your arms off and shove the soggy ends up your arse. Shit himself. So, Huw Edwards, the BBC's had to release a statement today. All of this is being managed, left, right and centre. They're all managing it. They've got reputational management on Edward's side. His missus has gone, here, mate, Foxtrot Oscar. Yeah, deviant fucker. And then the BBC are like, oh, no, we didn't know. No, we didn't. Yes, you bloody did. Everybody knew about Savile. Everybody. And it was kind of like a comedy routine. And Savile was raping 8-year-olds, and the BBC says, oh, we didn't know. The managers did. And I'll ask you a question. And the BBC can answer this one. What about the investigation into Huw Edwards and colleagues at the BBC? Where did that one go? Yeah, cheeky feckers. Oh, did it go under the carpet? Or did you sweep that one up? Nobody spoke out about it. Remember, there was 5 people that made complaints about him. And the inquiry went nowhere. So the BBC's known for decades. That's why I know that there's got to be perverts and deviants in the BBC. Now, a matter of odds, there's, what did I say? When I was in the BBC, there was 29,000 employees. I'm sure it's not much less than that, probably in the high teens. But Huw Edwards admitted his guilt. As Dan Brooker says, I hope the BBC go under. Gene Psychic, BBC lied. I know they did. Now, look, I will caveat that with there are some wonderful creative people within the BBC. But look, the managers know. But are they going to queer their particular pitch? Pun intended. Are they going to do that? No, they're not. If they're earning 100 grand a year, 150 grand a year, 200 grand a year, are you going to do, oh, well, I'll do the honest thing. I'll just, yeah, we know about that, and I'll resign. No, they're not. They're just going to keep their mouth shut. I couldn't watch that Savile documentary. I saw a clip of it on Google Box and I switched the telly off and felt sick. Stuart, I agree with you. I mean, I did it because, you know, we were going to talk about it on here. And I've got a pretty tough stomach. Who's that? Dan Brooker, the bloody algorithm's going to have me now. No, well, Dan. Always do the truth. Gareth says, I've wondered about those two as well. Oh, right, okay. Oh, yeah, Badil, not apologizing for blackface. He's a professional Jew, Badil. And there's something that I don't like about him. I don't know what it is, but there's something I don't like about him. It's not his family lineage or his faith or his family line. There's just something else. Can't quite identify it. But I felt that about Huw Edwards. Definitely felt that about Savile. And I felt that about other people that I've met. Because you can just, it's like when you shake hands with somebody, you can energetically feel them. Look, I'm a Reiki master, so I work with energy. So that's kind of what I do. So when I shake hands with people, I can send energy into them and see how it comes out. It's like a sonar where you send a beep out and it comes back. And energetically, I've shaken hands with people and thought, ooh, no. And then I keep away from them. It's that simple. Gene Psychic, agreed, Badil, something off. Now, I may be, you know, besmirching a wonderful, lovely guy, a talented guy. He's more talented than me. He's more wealthy than me. Doesn't have to work. Dan Brooker, Reiki's cool. Yeah, love it. But in this instance with Huw Edwards, he wants to have the worst kind of pictures of a 7-year-old being sexually abused on his phone. You deviant fucker. And look, I'm sorry, but this is just a personal opinion of mine. I believe that society was much better when we could go and have a quiet word with them round the back of a car park and show them the error of their ways. Because it's always worked. People go, oh, you can't do that, Adrian. I know you can't. It's against the law. No, Leah, it's not necessarily clammy hands. So I shook hands with somebody the other day, and it's split seconds. I shook hands with him, and I've got a very strong handshake because there's nothing worse than a man with a limp, weak handshake. It's not very manly at all. I've got a very strong handshake. I can crush hands. I bet he knows the Battenberg tip, Nicholas. BBC rotten from and up here in Newcastle. The Geordie would be shocked if they found out about some of their nice ones. I know. Yeah, BBC Newcastle radio for the Northeast, and see, my head's gone again. It's that bloody grief thing. So the BBC, because they're such a big organisation and they make a shit ton of money, brilliant, Gareth. Friend of his, one guy, BBC and ITV, and he's got a potentials list longer than the M1. I know, they're all in there. So Huw has admitted he pleaded guilty. So we can talk about it. It's not going to affect any trial because he's not going to go to trial. Went to the magistrates, pleaded guilty. I don't know whether he's done a plea deal. I don't know whether he said, look, I'll agree to everything. And then, it'll substantially reduce his time in prison. Now, remember that the Labour Party are saying that if you get anything under 4 years, then anything over 4 years, you're on a 50% tariff. Anything under 4 years, you're on a 40% tariff, which means that you get more time written off and you can get out quicker, so long as it's not a violent crime that you've been jailed for, and so long as it's not stalking and harassment. So I don't know how long he's going to get, but some of the reporting was saying it's 41 images. Some others were saying 37. They're saying 6 A grade or A category. Category B, Category C, and these are the ones that he had on his phone. And they only found them when they started investigating the other thing. So it's separate. But you know something? I'm too old a cat to be fucked by a kitten. So I knew when the reputational managers were sent in that they were trying to keep him on TV. It's worth a lot of money, $500,000 a year. I mean, he got a pay raise of 40 grand. How did the BBC give him a pay raise when they knew that at the point where the BBC says, no, he's not working for the BBC anymore, and he said, oh, I've resigned. That was the point where he was charged with these offences. And then 2 days before the court date, Huw Edwards is in court at Westminster Magistrates on Wednesday. Have you watched the court listings? Do you know how difficult it is to get a listing in court? They've known for ages. So the reputational managers were looking, the people in the BBC were watching, definitely, to see what kind of fallout was coming. And the BBC's made a statement. But here's the thing. Interesting, Neil. I'm expecting Tim Davie, DJ of the BBC, to resign within a week. Interesting. Yes, of course, Alan, they've suppressed this. All the media have. But can you remember the statement that was given out by his missus? Don't need to name her. She said, my husband is receiving treatment and will address these allegations when he's well enough. Can you remember that? And I thought, cheeky bitch. That's nicely covered up. So has he addressed those allegations now that he's well enough? No, he pleaded guilty to them. So the missus has found out actually how deep that rabbit hole went. And now she's gone, right, Huw, you're on your own, mate. Foxtrot Oscar. Scum-sucking pond life. Scum-sucking pond life. They're all liars. They're all lying. It's all about image and social media image. And my husband will address the allegations once he's well enough. However, he was walking down the court steps today, Westminster Magistrates, like a gangster, sharp suit, sharp shades. Alan says he must have been fit enough to be interviewed by the police. Correct. So he must have been fit enough to address these allegations. Oh, so the wife's in the shite. Technical term we use in radio. And this is another little aside. You know that triple murder in Bushy with the crossbow guy? Just want to say this to you. So he murdered, seemingly, because there are no other suspects. 3 women were murdered. And this guy has put a crossbow bolt through his chest. Now, from where I'm sitting, they've not said anybody's been charged. So the police arrest someone. They've normally got 24. Like if it's a nailed on, if you've been caught doing whatever, 24 hours, you're arrested and then you're charged. 48-36 if it's a bit more, 48-72 if it's a bit more complex. But 90 odd hours at the very outside, very, very outside. And then if it's terrorist related, you're lucky if you get 2 weeks. Have you noticed how the police haven't said that they've de-arrested him? Because he's not fit to be charged. He's not fit to be interviewed. He's not fit to be charged. Yes, he's still in hospital. So why haven't the police said we've had to de-arrest him? Due to protocols. Standard operating procedures, I think somebody may call it. So it may be the coroner has an investigation that's going on and some of the details are coming out, but nobody, the police, nor the press, nor anybody in the press know. They know. Why hasn't he been de-arrested? Has he been de-arrested? And if so, why hasn't he been charged? No, Alan, he was never booked into custody. If not, his detention clock won't be running yet. Ooh. Really? I thought the clock started from the point he was arrested. Doesn't matter whether he's in a hospital or not. He's been arrested. Is there some kind of fine line where they say, oh, well, if he's been arrested, then he's in hospital, so we'll just leave him arrested? That's not standard operating procedure, surely. So that was just a little aside about Bushy. I want to talk about Southport. Because if you're not on Twitter, or X as it's called nowadays, the last couple of days until I received my news this afternoon, I post a lot on there. And there's a lot of stuff that I can get on there that sometimes I can't get to here in time. So in real time, Twitter for me is much quicker and easier. And I can post more truths on there than I can here on YouTube. I tweeted Elon Musk because, got to tell you this. I have to tell you this. And please, 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 always keep this in the back of your head. Because are you not wondering why Venezuela is suddenly in the press and they're talking about it? Now, I'm going to, Psychic Adrian's back. I'm going to tell you, the presidential election is going to be rigged. I'm not mucking about. It's going to be rigged because they got rid of Sleepy Joe, Sniffy Joe, Marching Powder Joe, President Shitty Pants, Poopy Pants. I've got, he's gone. He's gone. Do you know why he's gone? I mean, I don't even think he's alive because he doesn't do things to show you that he's alive. They should do, but they don't. So they brought Kamala in. Cumface. And what's going to happen is this, and it's really, really, really easy to see and watch. So they're trying to say to you that she's raised $100 million for her election campaign. They've said she's polling above Trump. And they're lying! Do you know why? Because they want to have the deniability. They couldn't put Joe Biden in as president, the people in the background. They couldn't, because he would just shit himself and nobody would ever believe that he'd beaten Trump. I mean, nobody believes that he beat Trump in 2020 anyway. But they're setting it up so that you will believe that Kamala Harris could beat Trump. All of the polling, all of the money, all of the speeches, everything. It's set up so that when they do rig the election and she wins by this huge majority, oh, I say, we have a woman president in the US of A. You'll believe them that she could have done it That's what's going on here. But the stuff that's going to do her is possibly the debates, the presidential debate. Ha 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 ha. That's all she's got, a laugh, if that. On knee pads, definitely. So, wait till the presidential debates start, and I've got every feeling that they're not going to allow her to debate Trump. They're going to bypass them. They are going to pull, and who am I talking about? I'm talking about the Democrats. I'm talking about the deep state. Because they've just had, and I know this is a flow of consciousness, but Netanyahu was addressing Congress during the week. Hello, lads. Right. Yeah. He's got a Yorkshire accent. Didn't you know that? Ah, yeah. Can I have some more money? And the Americans are like, yeah, 58 times they got up and applauded that bloke. Can I have some more money? And then he went to see Donald in Mar-a-Lago. Done, mate. The G, mate. Can you give us, well, I don't know, maybe another 100 billion? We're going to give you the forever war. These people are not mucking about. Netanyahu is the most evil individual on planet Earth. And there are some belters hanging around, some proper evil entities. He just doesn't want to get chucked out on his arse by the Israelis. And that's every chance of coming. If he stays as a war prime minister, he's never. He's just riding high on the hog until he shuffles off this mortal coil. He's just, and the other thing, and I was going to do this in another video, but I want you, again, keep this in the back of your head. Do you know that both presidential nominees, 6 months ahead of time, get all of the presidential briefings? So Donald Trump will now, because, you know, they want them, it's kind of like a executive summaries and executive this and executive that for 6 months before they go into the chair of the White House. They get briefed, both of them, both presidential candidates, so that in the January they can hit the ground running. So now the Donald is getting briefed, presidential briefing every single day. That's why Netanyahu's had to go and see the G. Done, mate. That's how it works. Well, you think the Americans have got choice? They've got no choice. So let's leave them to their own devices. I've given you a couple of things that you might want to keep hold of. Oh, and the other thing, and this is really, really important, above all else, this is really, really important, because you keep this and you will be able to see from a very obvious standpoint exactly what's going on in the world. Why do you think Venezuela's in the press all the time this week? Because they've elected a new president. And I sent a tweet to Elon Musk. He won't respond. But I said to him, here, Elon, I know you swerved Zuckerberg, but are you going to fight this bum from Venezuela? Are you going to do him in the octagon, MMA? Because remember, he was going to fight Mark Zuckerberg, and that didn't happen. And now the new president of Venezuela is saying to Elon Musk, "How here, man? Let's me and you get it on in the MMA octagon." You know what's going to happen, don't you? Naff all. Talk's a good game. But if you've said you're going to fight Mark Zuckerberg, yeah, anytime, any place, octagon, then Elon, had away in shite. He's a fairy. Scott's words, meaning he's got no spine. Right, let's put all of that to one side. I want to address this this society in meltdown in Southport. Now, I know... Oh, no, sorry, apologies. I haven't told you what I was meant to tell you. So, you're watching everything go on in the world. The countries that you need to look at: Venezuela, Iran, Syria, Hungary, Russia, and China. Because the Rothschilds own every other central bank around the world. They don't care how long it takes them. They're close to achieving everything. So Venezuela And the Americans are going to want to rig that particular election so that they can have the president that they want. America rigging elections? Well, I never fan my brow. You're talking out of your derriere, Adrian. Hayden, seen it. Humza Yousaf has called on the English Defence League to be prescribed as a terrorist organisation. I think young Humza should be labelled a terrorist. Why? Bricks, says Jean. Yeah, sort of. I'll address that in a second. Young Humza is Scottish. Scotland has its own defence league. I know. For shit sure. Scotland has the SDL. England has the EDL. Don't know about the Welsh. WDL. Kicking off in Hartlepool. Monkyangers. What the Monkyangers doing? So young Humza is saying the EDL needs to be prescribed as a terrorist organisation. Here, mate, you were shite as a First Minister, so why don't you just foxtrot Oscar? Stop meddling in stuff that you don't understand. Stop meddling in our business. It's England's business, not yours. In the words of the great Chinese philosopher, foxtrot Oscar. You have your own defence league. SDL, deal with them. Nothing to do with us. It's possible to buy a hotel for about £6,000 sterling. Why is that sterling Scotland or sterling the denomination? So I want you to, I've already told you about the countries and the central banks. That's what is going on. So you thought, did you not question why the Russians and the Americans and us were into Syria? Why would we be into Syria? Central bank. And Venezuela's popped up and people are going, oh, it's just that cute South American country. What's going on? Oh, they've elected a new president. Not the one that the CIA wanted, obviously. But America fixing elections. So Venezuela, Hungary, Iran, China, Russia, Syria, 6 of them. They're the central banks that the Rothschilds don't own. And they want to own all the central banks because then you will be told you're buying digital currencies. You're not getting any cash. And we'll decide what you can spend it on. So that's what's going on. Venezuela, why is it in the news? Oh, they've just got a new president. Oh, right. Not CIA's choice, seemingly. Can you imagine Kamala Harris as president and having to deal with all of that? Kamala, you've blown it. Not a first, she'll say. So I've done all of that. I've given you some very interesting information this evening. Amalia, you're very kind. Yeah, I only thought I was going to do 20 minutes. Can't shut me now. Go up. But I want to sort of round off with Southport tonight because what they're doing, and I've said this to you before, I said to you that look at what they were doing with Princess Catherine and AI and the response online. I will guarantee you they may use this as well as what they said was unacceptable. Everybody, all the conspiracy theories were saying, oh, it's AI. And the royals were not happy about it. They had to dance to our tune, not theirs. And now they, with the Southport thing, they're blaming the far right. There's no such thing. There is no such thing. And I will tell you this. EDL, get back to me. I keep telling you Charlie 19, but there's something 1 digit less than that. Charlie 18. They loved my phone in on Century 106. They know me and I know them. They even blamed Russia for the riots. They didn't, did they? Can you give a shout out to my wife tomorrow? She's going for an operation tomorrow. Yeah, will do, Andrew James. Mrs. James, I hope it goes spiffingly well, and I hope you're returned into the bosom of Andrew and your family very, very quickly. Very quickly. I do wish you well with your operation. Thank you very much. So I don't know whether you've got any... no, I know the Bovril, the EDL doesn't exist, but that's why these politicians have got no clue. Absolutely no clue. They don't know what's going on in the world, apart from the Westminster bubble. And that idiot up in Scotland, Hamzif Yousif, or Hands Up Useless, Downing Street Kettling. Really? They can't get into Downing Street. So hang on a second. So the Just Stop Oil scum-sucking pond life that were desecrating our fallen and the cenotaph, and the police do nothing. And yet, did Tommy R leave the country? Yeah, I think he's back in Spain. And they're kettling people outside the gates, Downing Street. I think they're setting this up. Do you know why? Because they want to deal with us a certain way. They've only been in power a month, 4 weeks. And these idiots, I told you, Sir Keir Starmer, is he scaring you yet? So you've got all this kicking off in Southport. You've got all this kicking off in Downing Street. But do you know something? Is Maya Toosey doing an interview with... do you know, Maya's got to be careful. Because if Tommy has been arrested on terrorism charges, anyone fraternising with him can be tarred with the same brush. But you've just got to be very careful. Keir looks like a defeated man already. Yeah, Angela Rayner's going to take over. I told you this a couple of weeks ago. I told you when they first got into power that she is being lined up as the leader of the Labour Party. And Sir Keir Starmer could stand down within 100 days. Let's see if Psychic Adrian, because honestly, if I get any of this right, I'm having the lottery numbers at the weekend. I'm putting my shirt on, everything. So it could be that the Ginger Growler is going to take over the head of the Labour Party. Oh, can you believe that? Huw Edwards submits exceptional character defence despite pleading guilty to making innocent images of children. Hayden, thank you. Well, he's bound to. Oh, I did this for the Queen, and I did this, and I did that, and you know, I'm a man of good character. No, you're not. You've got kiddie porn on your phone. Scum sucking, pond life. Gareth says the thing is, why are there some saying that Sue Gray is trying to neuter Rayner? Most strange. That's why, because Sir Keir Starmer set her onto her. I wonder which one of them would like that. So all this kicking off in Southport. So we know the names of the victims. We know many details about the victims because it was on... Oh, hang on a second. I'm trashing the joint. On the front of every single paper today. So there's the Times. So we know all the details about the families and, sadly, the little victims. Again, front page of the Eye. Again, front page of the Mirror. Again, front page of the Mail. Again, front page of the Sun. We don't know who the suspect is. We don't. So, in my very humble opinion, I want to know why the government's doing that. I want to know why the government are not giving us the details. He's a 17-year-old boy. I get that. I get that there are certain legal hoops that the government's got to jump through. And I get that ordinarily under 18, they won't tell anybody. But for legal reasons. And then they're going to trot out mental health. And then they're now trotting out, oh, he's a lone wolf. They're always lone wolves. Have you noticed that? Exactly that, says news tells lies. They never tell the bloody truth. Yeah, that's Dan B. That's a very, very good point. They said he's from Wales, but they didn't say he's not Welsh. I mean, I know the South Walians very, very well. Love them. Loved my time in South Wales on Real Radio. And I would, you know, I can't say anything. So has he been arrested? Yeah, wolves hunt in packs, according to In the Field. There's, I know stories that would take me all night to tell you. But in my experience, the age doesn't count for anything. Yeah, exactly that. They've named the victims, not the perpetrator. I don't know why not. But they're managing it. And that's the thing. Nobody is, I think, if you... Sir Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper, are they robots? Because they went to Southport for a photo opportunity for tomorrow's chip paper to say that they'd been to Southport and they laid some flowers. And I watched Yvette Cooper lay the flowers and then turn to the Oppo, the local MP that's with her, and give him a cuddle. And I thought, that's not about you, you cynical old tart. It's not about you. 3 little ones have been slaughtered by a knifeman. 5 others are in critical condition. 2 adults are in critical condition. And you're making it about you. I never in a month of Sundays expected to see Keir Starmer Cooper has to share a bed with Ed Balls. In one way, I understand. And Sir Keir Starmer turns up and there's like, I don't know, too much Botox. Face didn't move. He's putting the glasses on to try and make it look intelligent. Foxtrot Oscar. And he puts some flowers down. Now, how many chief constables have they got to accompany all these politicians to lay flowers? Tons, apparently, because you can see them. And then he doesn't stay to talk with the locals. Now, that in itself is incendiary. Can you hear the people? Go onto my X feed, because I've put all the videos on there, and the locals are shouting at him, what about the children? Are my children next? Because it's... fear is heightened in Southport at the moment. And then he goes off and talks to the emergency workers. Oh, lovely, Keir, lovely. So 3 little uns of, there are no words for what's happened to them. I mean, I know I make a joke out of Taylor Swift, but it's those little Swifties, they'll have loved it. Going to a dance class to dance to Taylor Swift. Wonderful. Joyous for the right audience. Not for me, as I've said repeatedly. But when I heard it was Taylor Swift, you know, the poor little buggers. But last night, they were holding a silent vigil. And just before the silent vigil, a brown-skinned man with a face covering was arrested with a machete. That's what was reported. No wonder it kicked off. Because the people in Southport are not dealing with ordinary circumstances. It's the presence of the unusual in the usual. This is extraordinary circumstances, and 3 little uns have been murdered. So what about the children? Sir Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper put the flowers down and didn't mention the victims. They went and did some kind of presser with the usual news channels, but they didn't mention the little uns. Yvette Cooper, I mean, is she heartless? The suspect is getting equal coverage, but not detailed. And the thing that really gets me is it was just at the beginning of the school holidays. These little uns were excited, going to the Taylor Swift dance class, brilliant. Nobody's mentioning the yoga teachers that were involved and trying to save the kids. They're talking about the boy from the gym, bit of a beefy boy who took on the knifeman. And as an aside, 9 people were knifed over the weekend in London. In Ipswich, a 20-year-old boy has been attacked by a black man with a knife. It is every single day. And look, I know that there's just a couple of things that we want. We want truth no lies. We don't want the media managed. We don't want any of these interviews in the mainstream media because the people that I speak to, and they tell me, we don't believe them. We want leadership, not management. And I get, 17 in 48 hours. Thank you, Toga69. Sorry, Toga. I've said to you from the beginning of this channel, how can you tell when a politician's lying? Their lips move and they're lying out of their hairy arse. They are. Because remember, the game is this. They're not into being leaders. They're just into getting as much money as possible whilst they're in power so they can live a life of luxury afterwards. Work hard for it, but we want money. And that's what they do. They just skim off all the taxpayers' money that you're paying through the nose, and they're going to tax the pensioners. So everybody is looking at the political leaders saying, look, we just want truth. We just want truth from the police. The police are shitting themselves. I can tell you. They're shitting themselves. 37 officers injured. How can they replace 37 officers on shifts? I mean, it was mutual aid that you get from other different forces, whether it's Cheshire or Lancashire or some of the Yorkshires or GMP. They haven't got enough cops, and cops are coming back from helping Merseyside out injured. That's how high the feelings ran last night. They weren't, so it kicked off because of this brown-skinned man with a face covering and a knife, a 4-minute drive from where the mosque was. That's why it kicked off, because they thought there was going to be another stabbing. Dan Brugger, I agree with you. Shady Shear is a YouTuber covering this, asking why the UK leader isn't leading. Why isn't he acting like a leader and taking control instead of apologising? Because, look, he's a flip-flop. If he was a French Prime Minister, he'd be a Philippe Philop. Gene, I know, we're a very passionate lot, especially when it comes to our kids. Now, I get that Starmer has got 2 daughters. Not sure about Yvette Cooper. I think she's got some kids. And I get that they keep them out of the public eye, quite rightly, because there's a lot of nutters out there. But all we want is truth. No lies. Don't mess with us, because we can see right through them now after what we've been through in the last 4 years. The jibber-jabber et al. And the thieving Tories. I mean, James Not So Cleverly, he's... And I saw somebody using that today, and I was thinking, you cheeky fecker. Anyway, James Not So Cleverly, he wants to be the leader of the Tories. Mate, man, Foxtrot, Oscar, we've seen through the lot of you. And if you give the Tories the wrong leader, you're done. You won't last. You'll be gone. And the first opportunity we get to send that message to Labour, I mean, did you vote for them? Really? We don't judge here. We don't. Dan Brugger says the world's gone mad. I agree with you. But it's only gone mad, as in angry mad, because these politician prats, they think they're the political classes, so they rule the world. It's not about them. It's about the poor children that were murdered. Trump said years ago, according to Amalia, no-go areas all over the UK. I agree. Rochdale, Rotherham, grooming gangs. Notice how that was never covered in the mainstream media. That's why they don't want us to get angry. Now look at what happened in the miners' strike in the 80s. And I know, because I was there, Sunderland was full of mines and they were shutting them down to control them. But Thatcher knew that if you give a man a mortgage, he'll never strike. I mean, man or woman, whatever. You know, I know it's 2024, but this was back in the 80s. So the working man was getting mortgages. He was buying the local council houses with massive discounts. But the minute they got a mortgage, they were never going to strike. And they're doing exactly the same now. You're not allowed to get angry. No, don't be stupid. And there's no authenticity in these leaders, in these political people. Yeah, he went into a dance school for kids. He'd obviously done some kind of recce. Had to. Because he knew what was going on. He knew the time of the classes. He knew there would be an open door. So what is being kept from us? And that, because we believe we're being told lies, is why people are getting angry. And do you know something? I've told you this before. 3.8 million Muslims in this country, in Great Britain. 65 million Christians. Now, the odds are not great. And I'm suggesting that we need calm in this situation, and we look to our political leaders to give us that leadership, to give us that calmness, to tell us that they're working on our behalf to deal with things. Now, we'll get to Manchester Airport. Did you notice how when the original video came out, everybody went, ooh. And all the Muslim clerics and community leaders and solicitors were right on. Yeah, it's attempted assassination. And I looked at it and I thought, nah, firearms officers never going to lose that control. Never. And then they released the extra video. And since they've released the extra video, the only thing that has happened is the solicitor for the family has gone, right, lads, I'm off. The boy in blue has previous for aggression and is a cocaine drug dealer from the reports I've seen. So I will ask you this question again. So the boy in blue and the other family member, the boy in blue broke the nose of a female officer, that's GBH. He assaulted another police officer, that's assault emergency worker ×2. And then he goes after the firearms officer and goes into the back of his head. He starts clumping him in the back of his head. That firearms officer didn't know whether he was going to go for his gun. And if that boy possibly did go for his gun, the officer is fighting for his life. And if he's fighting for his life, best man wins. And he didn't pull his gun, he pulled the taser. He tasered him. So he was acting within standard operating procedures for the police. And I hope that that officer is given a medal and is exonerated. Don't know whether the other two are being charged, but from the video, I can talk about the video. No authenticity from the political leaders, no authenticity from the community leaders. They're all lying to save their skin. And what was that? I don't even know his name. He might have been a mayor of somewhere. But you don't know, you don't understand, we'll start and demonstrate and you won't have seen anything like it before. Mate, we've got guns. You're wanting to take us on? Foxtrot Oscar. There's 65 million of us. And you're giving it jaw. As Warren says, it's deep-rooted now. Charles said from day one he was going to welcome more foreign people, and he has. Sir Keir Starmer said 100,000 of them can come in. But let me tell you this. Back in the day when Tony Blair... what's happened to Tony Blair? Has he still got long hair like some... Charles Linton, done for stuff, Bow Street Magistrates. Don't call him Amanda. Is it Amanda or Miranda? I think his name was Miranda, wasn't it? His cross-dressing name, Miranda. So we've got a situation where leaders should lead, community leaders should ask for calm and lead. Now, when it kicked off and the original video was released, everybody recalled and thought, oi, 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 oi. That police officer went a bit. But two of his colleagues, one's been sparked out and had her nose broken, and the other one has been flattened on the floor. He's now fighting with two men until the backup gets there, until the cavalry gets there. He's got to make sure that boy stays on the floor. He's only got his feet. stay on the floor. And all of a sudden, the boy in blue, they're saying, oh, he's got a cyst on the brain. Proof, please. And oh, he's next to death's door. And hang on, he's sitting next to the solicitor on the sofa, and he's supposed to be in hospital near death's door. Absolutely foxtrot Oscar, mate. The old Bovril, stop making me smile. I'm trying to be serious. And we've got leaders that are being manipulated by others that we didn't elect. Klaus Schwab. Angela Rayner is talking about fear in the mosque. Hang on a second. Who started this? Because I believe it started in Manchester Airport. I think tension was heightened. I think people that watched it then got a real sense of what had gone on. And then Angela Rayner, Ginger Growler, talking about fear in the mosque. Look, I don't want anybody scared. I don't want anybody full of fear. But this is down to the leaders. The leaders should get a grip on this. And I know what the police do. If there's heightened tensions, they'll flood the area with cops. Now, I know that Merseyside Police will have had help from Lancashire Police and Greater Manchester Police and Cheshire Police, maybe some of the Yorkshire Polices, maybe something a bit further down. But it's called mutual aid. Quite rightly, sometimes police forces need help. 37 injured in that skirmish. Now that tells me one thing. A, there wasn't enough coppers to deal with it. And B, people are very pissed off. Not only at the police, because the police are not telling them anything. Not only the mayors, the mayoral office and the local politicians, because they're telling them nothing. And the guy that was arrested last night with a knife, face covering, brown skinned. They all thought they were going to get knifed. Gene says, I say a lot of terror incidents covered up. I agree with you, Gene. But it makes no sense to just keep putting them out into the news all the time. They used to in the 70s. I remember the IRA and Northern Ireland and what they did over here with the Birmingham pub bombings and the horse bombings in London. I remember all that. And the other thing that is not being mentioned, and I do hope that the political leaders have the political will to do this and support the little ones that have survived. Because there is such a thing as survivor guilt. And those little ones are going to carry that all their lives. How awful. The parents, the community. Awful. They're saying it's not terror related. Okay. It's not terror related. But where's the leadership? He wanted to be Prime Minister. He's the decision maker. Make the decisions for the benefit of the people, because the first rule of government is this. You protect your people. First rule of government. You protect your people. So, quick learning curve. Steep learning curve. But whatever happened to can you remember the soldier that was stabbed 70 times last week? 10 days ago? Not a column inch. Mad Matt, yes I am. Adrian, did you see that the terrorist leaders live in Qatar and the flight involved the Qatar Airways? I know they're in Qatar. They're multi-billionaires. Again, I'll tell you. And it's only because, it's in there somewhere and I never know where it is. But Lee Rigby as well. Yes, absolutely. Amalia, 70 times, dear God. Yes, absolutely. Was he a colonel? He was a high-ranking army officer. And what did they do? Nothing. Not in the press. Nothing. And I will tell you, for reference, anybody that thinks I'm some Johnny come lately in this island, this sceptred isle, Lieutenant Colonel. Wow. So he's a fairly big officer. Stabbed 70 times. It was his wife that saved him. My ancestry goes back beyond King Richard the Lionheart, and Saladin in Jerusalem. Exactly that. Exactly. What was the motive? We're not being told. We're not being told. Wasn't the Gazans by any chance, was it? I mean, it would be funny if it came out that he was protesting about the children of Gaza. Yeah, the taxi driver in Liverpool in 21 was an awful act, I agree. So my ancestry, I can trace it legitimately back to Rollo, 600s, in this country, in England. So I know my heritage. I'm not some Johnny-come-lately that flew over here or came across on boats. I've been here for nigh on 1,700 years. Mate. And my family, and I've traced it all the way back to the Vikings and Rollo. That's just on my mother's side. Pauline, ooh, one of the Crusaders. Fabulous. That's why I mentioned Saladin. King Richard the Lionheart virtually took Jerusalem and defeated Saladin. He was a Crusader. The Crusaders. And I agree with Stuart. How a 17-year-old is capable of that is horrifying and terrifying. So, thank you for your indulgence tonight. Thank you for your very kind messages. Thank you for your support. I wanted to do this because I'm not sure when the next live's going to be. If you just bear with me, I'll do my best. But as you know, grief comes in waves. And if I just can't get rid of this ugly feeling in my stomach, then it's quite difficult to be creative. But thank you for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. Let me just get rid of that. So we've got 154 people. Protesters throw bricks and other objects at riot police in Hartlepool. Blimey, they'll be hanging monkeys next. Got 150 odd people watching. If you could smash the likes on your way out, please tidy the Kirk up. I haven't got the strength to do it tonight. So if you've had any Battenberg or Alter wine, you're wronging. I hope it was okay, and I hope I brought you some value tonight as being part of this wonderful, wonderful church community, the Kirk. My name's Adrian Allen. Thank you for your likes. Smash them on your way out, please. Thank you for your subscriptions. Please make sure you're subscribed for when we're next doing something. And thank you for your very kind words. My name's Adrian Allen. Be safe, go well, and don't forget the Battenberg.